Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. This is episode 203, episode 203 of this show. And this is one of our Help Situation Spotlight series shows. And of course, this is a series where community members like yourself reach out and let me know what's on your mind, what you're concerned about, what you might even be worried about. And you say, help! Here's the situation I want you to shine a spotlight on and help me. And so that's what we're doing in these shows. Of course, I always do ask that you stop by CourtneyAnderson.com. That is our main central website, and that's where we have individual show pages for every single one of these shows, all 203 of them. Show pages will have links to any resources that I mentioned. We'll have links to other related programs or shows, whether it's this audio talk show or our video companion talk show or an article or anything else that I might have written or presented. And there's an opportunity for you on CourtneyAnderson.com to reach out and join our community list, our email list. I also would ask if you have the opportunities to find this program out and about in the world on some of our distribution partners, iTunes, Libsyn, Stitcher, Spreaker. These are just places where podcasts and talk shows and radio programs are distributed. If you find our program, please leave a review or a rating. That's really helpful and important. And I am on social media. I am on Twitter at Zealous Business. So please go ahead and find me there and partake of my tweets if you like. So today in episode 203, which is of course the Help Situation Spotlight series program, what's the specific topic? I know you're on the edge of your seat. What is it? What are we talking about? Well, the specific show topic today is my life is a roller coaster, and I want it to be a carousel. My life is a roller coaster, and I want it to be a carousel. So this is a vivid topic. The idea here is that the community member is saying, hey, look, my life is a roller coaster ride. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. And I want, instead of the up and down and up and down, a little bit of predictability. I'd like my life to be a little bit more like a carousel or a merry-go-round, right? Where you get on it, it goes in a circle. There's not wild, crazy, jarring movements up and down and left and right and here and there. It's something that you approach completely differently. And so I love this title because, again, I think it's visual, it's vivid, and it conveys a lot of information, right? And in full disclosure, I actually enjoy roller coasters. I'm one of those people, I don't get to amusement parks often, but when I do, I thoroughly plan ahead. So I'm the person that if you're not like this, you're not going to want to go to the park with me. I plan ahead. So way before the actual time to go to the park comes, I have been plotting and planning and looking at the layout of the park, where all of the rides are that I want to ride, deciding where I want to go first, doing some research on what the longest lines are going to be so that I can maximize my return on my investment. And you know, literally, that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking, okay, we paid X amount of dollars, for admission. We have X amount of time between when we get there or the park opens and the park closes, and I want to see as much as I can. Now, I also have a very individual preferences, like all of us do in life, right? So before we, start planning the park, I know that I have preferences for a couple of things. I love water, and I love water rides and water events. So I want to make sure I hit all the water rides. So if it's a one of those log rides or any kind of thing with water, I want to get on that. The other thing is, I actually do like roller coasters. Now, in my continuing quest to embarrass myself, sometimes humiliate myself, publicly on a global scale. I like the movement of the roller coaster. I like the up and the down and the sort of the adrenaline of it all. But I'm visually frightened of heights. I'm scared of heights. So my plan that I've come up with, and I still do to this day, so if we go to the park, you'll know what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go to all the roller coasters because that's second on my list of the water rides. The deal is, though, when I go on the roller coaster, I close my eyes. So once I get on the roller coaster and, got my safety harness or belt or the little bar that comes down to keep us from, having an injury. Once I'm assured that that's locked and everything looks safe, as it's always been at any park I've ever been to, then what I do is I close my eyes. Now, this probably seems ridiculous. I've had people tell me directly that they don't understand what the purpose is of going on a roller coaster when you close your eyes. I have my system and it works for me. Here's the deal. If I open my eyes, the fear of heights will make the whole thing horrible. Like, I won't be happy and I'll just be frightened and that. But the movement, I like it. And when you close your eyes, it's even more exciting because you can't even anticipate what's going to happen, right? When you have your eyes open, especially, if it's daylight, and then you can see, oh my goodness, here comes the dip. We're coming to the dip. We're coming to the dip. Oh my goodness, right? The anticipation of it all. When you close your eyes, you don't even know where you are. And it's, to me, this is a system I came up with, at like 8 years old. So I'm not trying to argue the logic of it as an adult, but I've been doing this, for decades. Like, this is how I do roller coasters. I want the movement and the rush and the wind and the left and the right and up and the down and all of that. I think it's fun. I just don't want my eyes to be open because then I'll be so petrified I can't enjoy it and it'll detract from the part that I like, which is the sensation of it all, right? So, because I do this my way, then obviously I don't scream or make noise until we're actually, falling or moving because I can't see what's happening. So I have my own little way of doing it, right? I also will say this, that it tends to happen. I've never been to an amusement park with, kids since I was one, but definitely as I've become more of a teenager and adult, I do tend to use words that usually aren't nice words when I scream. So I don't just usually scream ah, but sometimes I'll scream a profane word. I don't know, I guess in the excitement and fear of it all, it's kind of what comes out. So these are all feedback points I've had from other people. That's to say, I actually really enjoy roller coasters. And as I said, when I make my plan of attack before I go to an amusement park or a fair or a theme, anywhere where there are going to be rides, then, that's second on my list of the water event. I know what I like. Because there's only so many hours and I'm not going to be able to fit everything in. And so I'm going to go prioritize the stuff I want to do the most. I also actually do like merry-go-rounds. Merry-go-round and carousel, use the words interchangeably, but those are the rides you get on, and sort of historically there's like a little plastic or wooden horse, and then you just sit on that. And sometimes they move up and down a little bit, like they're on a pole, so they do move up and down a little bit, and then the ride goes, around in a circle. I like that too. So those are on my list. They're just lower than the water rides and the roller coasters. And I usually, since I planned my time out before I even, days or weeks before going to the park, I'll insert my carousel ride, my merry-go-round ride, so that it kind of gives me a place to sort of come down from the excitement of the water rides and the rush of the roller coaster rides. And then I'm ready to, I'm sort of rejuvenated and I'm ready to go back to the next, sort of adrenaline rush. Okay. I'm not biased anti-roller coaster or anti-carousel. I'm not actually biased pro-roller coaster or pro-carousel. I enjoy them both in appropriate ways. And on the carousel or merry-go-round, yes, my eyes are open. My eyes are open on every ride except for the roller coaster, okay? So, the question is, basically, how do you achieve a semblance of stability? Because the roller coaster is, the antithesis of stability, right? It's up and down and all around. And when you go to the show page, of course, CourtneyAnderson.com, we have show pages for every episode with, again, links and follow-up information. It's also an opportunity for you on our show pages to see if we've got a seminar, or a webinar, or an ebook related to a topic, or if you're interested in potentially having corporate education or keynote speaking, or in some instances, depending on schedule availability, private coaching on a topic. There's also, of course, the ability for you to partake in our sponsors. We have the most awesome sponsors that we've entered into partnerships with, and you'll see affiliate ads and links. And if you see something on a page and you say, oh my gosh, I really love that place, or I wanted to buy that thing, please do. And please do so from the links on our website so that our partners know that you came from CourtneyAnderson.com, and we can continue to add the infrastructure, the staff, and the material that we do to our program on a daily basis. Okay. When you go to that show page, you'll see the dictionary definition for the roller coaster, right? And so let me read this here. Roller coaster definition. This is from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It says, a ride at an amusement park, which is like a small open train with tracks that are high off the ground and that have sharp curves and steep hills. Or it has a definition, secondly, that says a situation or experience that involves sudden and extreme changes. A situation or experience that involves sudden or extreme changes. Here the weird thing is, as we're talking about this and doing this program together, I'm like physically reliving what it's like on the roller coaster, because remember, since my eyes are closed, I don't prepare for what movement's coming. Not just the drops, but going left or going right or whatever. Like, my eyes are closed. So my experience on the roller coaster is, because the way I do it, right, without the visual element, my body is thrown to the left and thrown to the right, and part of that's what I like, right? It's really, it's exciting, kind of. So the roller coaster life, right? The show topic, my life's a roller coaster. The roller coaster life is one where you got sudden and extreme changes. Just sudden. It's left, it's right, it's up, it's down. It's backwards, it's forward, it's who knows, a loop to loop. It's 3 loop to loops. And you can't recover or prepare because you don't know, right? Here it is, it's sudden, it's extreme. I was going this direction, stop it, I'm going another direction. Oh no, I was going here, I was at this height, I'm at this height, I'm up, I'm down, I'm all around, I'm upside down, and like I said, there's a place in our life for sudden and extreme change. And even if we're somebody who does nothing, like if you're someone who thinks, I don't go to roller coasters, I've never been on one, I have no interest in that. I'm someone who does not like any sudden or extreme change. Even if you live your whole life doing everything you can to avoid a roller coaster life of type of existence, guess what life's going to throw your way? Life is going to just throw your way sudden and extreme changes. We've done shows where we talk about that. It could be, hopefully it isn't, but it could be, a death of someone. It could be a tragic death. We did a show about how do you, handle or address a work colleague who's experienced a tragic death of a loved one. And I encourage you to check out that show if you haven't. Sudden and extreme things happen. Illness, accidents, natural disasters are something I mention frequently in shows because I think people don't ever pay attention to natural disasters, obviously, until it happens, unless your job is someone that you prepare or study for these types of issues. But I spent years living in a part of the world that was prone to really severe tornadoes, and experienced a couple of those, myself. I've not experienced being in a tsunami. I've experienced being in some small earthquakes. I'm trying to think what else. I've experienced sort of the weak hurricane systems. Thank goodness at this point, I've not been in a wildfire. But my point simply is this. Those alone, just life, just the odds, the longer we stay alive, you're going to hit some natural disasters. And they're sudden and they're extreme. And if it's an avalanche or wildfire or a tsunami or a tornado or an earthquake or whatever, it's sudden and extreme. And those are the types of things when they do happen, and you watch media reports around the world, right? So it doesn't matter where in the world it is. Oh my goodness, what happened in this part of the world or that part of the world? It's a big story because everybody was just going about their regular lives. And then now what you'll see in the last couple of years of technology, it'll be, oh, there was an earthquake in this place, and now because of the technology, it'll be, oh my goodness, here's some footage from a smartphone that someone took. So you can see it in real time and experience it with them and, listen to their, confusion or fear. And the point simply is this. The roller coaster part of life, in some instances, takes care of itself. So if you're somebody who says, you know what, I don't have enough excitement in my life, I can assure you that if you just keep, living, just stay alive a little bit longer, the odds are you're going to have more and more of these experiences. Where, again, it's something totally sudden, it's extreme, it's out of your control, you have no idea. Again, natural disasters, death, tragic deaths, accidents, injury, illness, just stuff, life. Sudden extreme things happen most of the time, irrespective of what we do or don't do. So in a way, I don't think we need to have a fear that our life is not going to have enough roller coaster experiences. Now, we have done shows where we talk about this concept where people claim they're bored. And that's slightly different. That's in the context where someone says, hey, I wanted a glamorous life, or I wanted a wealthy life, or I wanted an adventurous life, and I wanted to, travel, or I wanted to write, or I wanted to dance, or sing, or paint, or, build buildings, or whatever. And now I do this other thing, and I'm bored. And that's a different type of life. What that person is not saying, I want sudden extreme change. Or what they're saying is, the life I live doesn't match the life I've dreamed. And when we have that happen, then we get in deep trouble because we get to all types of emotional and physical consequences of that, right? That unhappiness. So when we talk about that level, we talk about is you got to take responsibility to be honest about what you want, and then to take the action to change so that you live that life. And that's not the same as the roller coaster situation. The roller coaster situation is it's just constantly seemingly out of the blue, overwhelming, frightening in many instances, and it never stops. So you can't catch your breath. I said earlier when I make my plan of attack for the amusement part, I pace myself. So I'm going to do a high energy adrenaline ride. I'm going to do a low energy just relaxation ride. Maybe that's when I do my carousel, merry-go-round. I'm going to spend some time walking around looking at exhibits or whatever. Like, I pace myself, right? You got to do that in life. And what tends to happen with people who are discussing this type of show topic is that they've set up their life where they have intentionally rigged it so that it's never stable. And when you don't have any stability ever to catch your breath or to kind of get your energy back up or to plan for the next roller coaster, then it just becomes overwhelming because it's unrelenting. Being on a roller coaster is awesome. Being on a roller coaster all the time is not. Because it means that you constantly are having sudden and extreme changes and you can't even, recuperate, recover, plan, anything. It's just constantly. You're tossed around constantly, right? Now we have different personal thresholds for how much extreme and sudden change we like. So like I said, some people, hey, they live a whole life and that one time there was that tornado, they remember that one time and that was enough for them, good. There are other people who say, you know what, I like to have more sudden and extreme changes. So it just so happens I work out in the ocean, in the open ocean, where there's a lot of sudden and extreme changes. There's a lot of, variety. And I get the opportunity to experience more of these roller coaster events, right? Whether it's the sea itself or some other event out in the open water. And there are other people who say, I don't ever want to do that. That's why I want to be, at the same place every day at the same time, doing the same type of work in the same physical environment that's indoors to try to limit my exposure to some of these sudden and extreme changes. That's part of the discussion we said a little while ago. We talked about these other programs about you got to take responsibility for what you want to do in your life. And as you do that, then you're going to craft the life that you want. We talked about in those other shows, right? You got to be honest. If you like to work outdoors, then work outdoors. Don't go sit in an office and then complain how horrible it is and that you can't stand it and you never were in the physical environment you want to be in. You got to take responsibility and find a way to work outdoors. If you despise working outdoors, then don't go do that. Because then all you're going to do is complain about how horrible it is and you're always outdoors and just nothing would make you happier than being indoors with a controlled climate or whatever. Then you have to take responsibility. This situation of your life feeling or actually being a roller coaster is often a result of us refusing to take ownership of our choices. And so when I talk to people who their life really is in a roller coaster, and it's often, as a lawyer, I've definitely seen a lot of this, where somebody's life is just completely at the whim of external forces. So, if somebody, let me give an example. So let's say it's somebody, and they don't have, any financial resources themselves, and they didn't achieve trade school or certification or formal education skills so they could go out and market those for sort of a premium dollar amount, right? So they're not a plumber, they're not a licensed electrician, they're not a licensed hairstylist. They have very low level skills. And so then they go and they get a job, and it's an entry level or minimum wage job at a with entry level skills, but they don't have a vehicle and they don't have transportation, so they don't have a steady way to be able to get to work. So they were relying on a friend, and then that friend got mad at them and didn't give them a ride, and so they couldn't get to work, and so because they didn't get to work, they were fired. Because they were fired, now they don't have any hope at all of getting some money to allow them to potentially get their own apartment, and because they don't have a place to stay, they're living with this, this other person who's, really violent and mean, and they're, and they have kids, and other kids are frightened and at risk, and everything is just constantly on the precipice of falling off a cliff. It is a constant roller coaster because there's no ability for that person to make any plans because they don't control anything. They don't have ownership of any of the decisions. Am I going to live here? It depends if somebody else lets me, stay at their place. I don't have any money. I can't afford a place. I don't have any way to get my own place. Am I going to eat today? It depends if somebody else helps me. Am I going to be able to get to work? It depends. I either need a ride or I need somebody to help me because I'm not anywhere near public transportation and I'm dependent on other people. Am I going to be able to, even if I could get a ride to work, do I have any clean clothes to wear? Well, it depends because I don't have any resources. So I have to have somebody else, help me or take me to the laundromat so that I can use, the machines, or I can borrow money from them, or I can use somebody else's machine where they live to be able to wash my stuff so that I'm clean to go to work. I mean, everything becomes layer after layer after layer of obstacle. And life really is a constant roller coaster because you have no control over anything. And everything is set in an extreme. You wake up one day, you're living in this one place, people get mad at you, or you get into a fight, or whatever goes wrong, boom, that day you're out on the street. Where are you going to live? I don't know. And so the roller coaster ride, as I said, is attributable to not having any ability to influence, the events in your own life. And it's incredibly stressful. So the question for the show, of course, is help, right? I want my life to be a carousel. I don't want to be on a roller coaster where I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to eat. I don't know how I'm going to take care of my kids. I don't know how I'm going to wash my clothes. I don't know how I'm going to get, a shower. I don't know. I'm just a mess. And the thing is, the person's not a mess, right? We're not a mess as a person. We're just in a messy situation. And when we want our life to be a carousel, we have to plan ahead. It goes back to my analogy from the beginning of this episode where I talked about way before I even get to a park. I never understand people at the theme park. You're in line, and in big theme parks around the world that are hugely crowded, the most popular ones, you got to wait to get in line for sometimes a long time. And people are they finally get into the park, and now they want to look at a map and start planning where they're going to go. Really? Those people, one, they block the line. I'm excited. I've been waiting. Now I'm here, and I got my whole plan. I'm ready to go. I got my food. I got my whatever stuff they'd let me bring in the park, because often they don't want you to bring much because they want you to buy stuff there. That's part of their business, which is fine. But I'm ready, right? I planned ahead. Like, I'm psyched. I've got my whole thing mapped out. Like, get out of my way, right? Don't stand there and block my path when you're trying to read the map. You should have read the map before. We've been in line for like an hour and a half just to get in. You could have read the map then. But in my mind, you should have read the map before you even came here, right? All right. I'm being a bit, dramatic, but the point is, I get it. I'm a planner. I like logic and plans and outcomes. And I get it that other people aren't. And I'm not that way all the time. I'm just that way, with some stuff, work stuff and then really fun personal life stuff that I feel like I really want to get done, right? For your life not to be a roller coaster, you have to look at your life like I gave the example of the amusement park. You got to have your plan way in advance. You have to constantly be asking yourself, okay, what if? In other words, I told you I love water rides, which I do. The challenge is that if it's maybe, sometimes they'll close a ride down, right? Sometimes the ride will be, needs mechanical help or whatever, needs to be fixed. Sometimes it's too popular, so they'll stop letting people get in line because the lines are way too long. Sometimes the weather won't cooperate. So you have to have a plan of what you ideally want to do, but you got to always be asking, well, what if? What if I can't ride that ride? What if that ride's not running? What if the weather changes and I'm not able to do some of this other stuff I want to do? Like, what if? Because you got to be in this mode of constant reassessment in your life. We talked about the natural disasters, and I said even if you sit in one place, in one room for like 20 years, you're still going to have this probability that you will experience this sudden and extreme change. It's just sort of life, right? So what we want to do when we want stability, right? We want the carousel so that we know how fast it's going. We know exactly how long it's going to take. We can plan. You have to start backtracking in your life. And you have to start building your own infrastructure. And what that simply means is this. Look, it's your life. How's stuff going to get done? You have to start making a plan. And you have to have plans that are contingent on you. The more you bring in other parties or other people, then you every time you do that, of course, you introduce more risk. Because it's like, oh yeah, everything was totally going to work out as long as my step-grandmother lets me live at her place. Right, but that's contingent on somebody else. So A, that other person, your step-grandmother, has that place for you to be able to continue staying there. B, that she, decides that you can't continue to stay there. Or she might get mad at you, or she might want somebody else to move in, or she might feel like I don't want anybody here, or whatever. Like, you must have a plan that at the core level is largely, if not exclusively, attributable to action that you have some domain over. If you're always building your sort of your building blocks in life on what somebody else may do or may not do, or you hope that they do, or they said they do, or you want them to do, then you're at risk of your life being a roller coaster, because every single time that they change their mind, you're in that free fall of a sudden extreme change. You gotta have stuff that's your backup. That even when the sudden extreme change happens, it's like, oh, I have a backup plan in my pocket. And so, for example, in life, and I've talked about this in other shows, for things like the natural disasters, right? I can't predict them. I don't have the ability to. Some of these, there are professionals who do try to predict, when's the next, tsunami potentially going to happen. But a lot of it, you don't have the ability to predict, except for really short amounts of time. Like, there's been a tornado sighted. But I can't control the weather. What I do, though, is ask myself, worst case scenario, if the natural disaster and I happen to be, or my stuff, right, my place or my house or whatever, happen to be in the same place at the same time, I can't control it, but what if that happens? What's my plan? That's what insurance is for. So I have it. It's not that it's going to stop anything from being sudden extreme. What it's going to do is keep me on that carousel. So sudden extreme horrible thing happened. I've got my insurance. I've got the funds to, replace whatever was destroyed. I've got, phone numbers of people to call. My property has been destroyed. You also need to have an idea. I always pay attention, especially when you live in places where there's a higher likelihood of certain types of natural disasters or whatever. What's the number for the Red Cross, or do you have backup money, either cash somewhere? And I recommend keeping a reasonably small but amount of cash you could grab in an emergency on hand somewhere in your place, so that or in your bag, so you could get to a hotel and pay for it if everything fell apart and the computers don't work and nobody takes credit cards. And then do you have credit or debit or accounts that you can get money quickly out of if there's an emergency? In other words, you're building your own carousel. Like, you have to erect it, right? So I need space for it. How big is the carousel going to be? What's the circumference of it? What type of material am I going to have? Am I going to have wooden horses or plastic horses? How many of them am I going to put on there? What's the speed it's going to go? Like, you got to make all those decisions and build it yourself. And then stuff is going to happen. But because you have some, options, your life will be, of course, subject, like everybody's life is, to sudden and extreme changes. Like, that's just life. But when it happens, you're going to have pre-planned so that your life will continue on. It's inconvenient. Oh, I got to file for insurance, and people have to fill out the form and whatever. But, once it's all done, I have roughly the same type of life I had before. That's why you went through the hassle of getting the insurance. When we put ourselves at the risk and the mercy of other people, other people are just like us. They have super awesome days, and every once in a while they have awful days. And they may hit a patch in life where, they're just not able to carry themselves and you. Or you, and especially if you have other, you and your 4 pets, and you and your, 6 kids, and you have to embrace the beauty of stability. I love the idea of stability. What am I going to, where am I going to sleep tonight? I kind of like to have an idea. Where am I going to be able to, clean myself and take a shower and use the restroom? I like to have an idea. Emotionally, some people get into these lives where they do have a plan for, where they're going to live, and they have that taken care of, and they, have their work or their business, and that's fine. But emotionally, there are people who will choose to create, and we do mean create, because remember this, you, like we said, you erect or build the carousel, and then you just put yourself on it, or you erect and you build a roller coaster and you put yourself on it. But you actually are the master of it. When we talked about putting yourself at the mercy of other people, that was your choice. You can build your own roller coaster or your own carousel and just get on it. The other thing is, in some ways, you're going to be a carousel or a roller coaster. If your reaction to life is constant, sudden and extreme changes, you wake up in the morning and, I want to be a firefighter. And then you, later in the day, I want to be a second grade teacher. And then later in the day, no, I want to just be a volunteer and travel the world helping people in refugee camps. And then the next day, no. I really, decided I want to be a professional musician. And then, 2 hours later, no. My real love is, meteorology. I just really love meteorology, and I want to study weather systems. When you're all over the place and you're the roller coaster, then guess what your life is? It's a roller coaster. And as I said, some people, I focus on the sort of the physical infrastructure of life, like a place to stay, hygiene, food, because that is often a very serious challenge when your life is a roller coaster, because you don't have any control over these basic daily issues. So you can't plan anything. We also are mentioning that there are people who actually are really adept at that. They've planned it, they got their insurance, they're rocking it, they're good to go, they got a place, they're all right. But then emotionally what they'll do is create or be or both a roller coaster experience. So, everything was fine at work, but my boss, I know they don't like me, and they were looking at me, and I was so worried, oh my goodness, and I went in the bathroom, and I was crying, and I didn't know what was going to happen, and then, I came back to my office, and I realized that I was wrong, that my boss wasn't even thinking about me, because they were talking about something else, but, then I realized that, my friend called me, and I really want to help them, but, I'm late, I'm running late, I can't meet my friend, and, oh my gosh, I was dating, and, I thought that I was really with the person forever for life, and then I didn't hear from them, and okay, look, and you and I have known these people, and I, in all candor, as I continue to humiliate myself on a global scale, I've been that person. I'm here, I'm there, I'm all over the place. We have to do 2 things. Why did we build this? So either we built the carousel or we built the roller coaster, and then we got on it, right? And like I said, in many instances, we are it, right? So when we talk about building it, we have to understand that ourselves, right? The way we relate to the world, we can either relate to the world as the carousel. So people think, oh, they're dependable, reliable, they're trustworthy, I know what's going on. Or we can be a roller coaster, and other people think, everything is sudden, everything is extreme, everything is unpredictable, everything is risky. And that is something that is embarrassing to admit, but it's an accurate assessment. How do you conduct your life? So we talked about the basic stuff, insurance, place to stay, plans, right? But there's also your behavior. How are you behaving? Are you behaving as the carousel or the merry-go-round? Or are you behaving as the roller coaster? Now there's a need, and we've talked about this in so many programs, for people to be creative and innovative, and we did a show about your idea generation location, and how imperative it is that if you're in a life of creative pursuit and artistic endeavor, innovation, experimentation, then you have to build a physical space to be able to do that. Not build it like you build a building, but it could be just like a corner somewhere, or when you're in the shower or whatever. But you need to commit to a plan. Regimen, like this is how I'm going to create, or do everything in my power to create the best opportunity for me to think something novel or unique. So people would say to me, well, I'm not really a roller coaster. I'm just dynamic. I'm just creative. I get it. Here's the deal though. How is your entire life? So, in our work, when we're in the zone, or we're in the flow, as people call it sometimes, you're just lost in the excitement and the ideas and the process of whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, maybe that we're passionate, we're dynamic. But just like I earlier was giving an example of someone who literally can't figure out or plan ahead, am I going to be able to, stay, where am I going to sleep tonight? Because they're hoping that, a relative or a friend or, somebody they're dating will let them stay with them. It's the same thing emotionally when you set yourself up for these sudden and extreme changes. It's one thing to be within the defined parameters of, hey, here's our relationship, or here's how you can trust me. And then within that, they, have a personality where, you can be high energy, or you can be really dynamic and passionate. It's another thing though when you're not stable and people can't even predict what you're going to do. So then they might want to be your friend, but there was that time that they thought that everything was fine, and then you yelled and screamed and threw a temper tantrum, and it seemed sudden and extreme, and they couldn't even figure out what happened. It throws them off kilter, and it prevents them from being able to trust and rely on you. So what you have to take responsibility for, just like we talked about, we have to take responsibility to figure out where we're going to have shelter, where we're going to be able to eat, what are we going to be able to do to, for our hygiene and cleaning and things of that nature. We have to face the reality of our behavior. Can people trust us? Again, you can have a personality that's again dynamic and passionate and exciting, and still do that in a healthy, safe way where people know they're safe with you. So it's one thing for someone to say that, hey, that's my best friend. I've known him for 20 years. He's always fun and exciting and interesting and dynamic, but he would never hurt me. I know I can count on him. That's one thing. Do you see the difference? It's another thing when somebody's behavior is such that you're constantly putting them in a situation where they don't know what's going to happen. So they're not totally sure that they can trust you. They're not totally sure that your relationship is important to them. They're not really sure what you mean to them or what they mean to you. That is as reckless as not having control over where you're going to stay tonight. Now, of course, you have a plan for your stay tonight, and then the wildfire comes through and burns that place down, and now I'm going to have the Red Cross is helping me, or there's a shelter, or I'm at a hotel or whatever, of course. But you had the plan and you were executing it, and then you would pre-planned ahead. So you have the insurance and you had a little bit of cash and resources to be able to address. The horrible wildfire came through, and now I can't stay where I planned to. But you had a plan, right? It's the same thing with this emotional roller coaster existence. You got to have a plan. It's one thing to say to somebody, "Hey, this is how I am. I can be really passionate. I can have times that I'm really quiet and times that I'm really vocal and verbose." But I want you to know how important you are to me, what you mean to me, that you can trust me, and that I'm always here. And you're not redefining the relationship all the time. You're just experiencing different, moods and flows. But you're not, 1 minute I care about you, another minute I hate you, another moment, come let's spend time together, another moment go away, I never want to see you again. That is the roller coaster. You see? So when you step back from this and you ask yourself, wow, whoever community member that that share this topic, life's roller coaster reminds me of a carousel. The super good news is that that's an easy thing to fix. You want to look at it a couple ways. One, you have to decide what you are. Are you a carousel where people can trust you, rely on you, know what to anticipate? All right. So if you're a friend, what does that mean? If you're a spouse, what does that mean? If you're a parent or a child, what does that mean? If you're a neighbor, if you're a boss or a team member, what does it mean? Can they trust you? Is your word your bond? Are you a carousel? Or are you a roller coaster where no one has a clue what you're going to do? Maybe you're going to stay, maybe you're going to go. Maybe you think they're great, maybe you think they're horrible. Maybe you support people emotionally, maybe you destroy people emotionally. If you choose to be the roller coaster, then your life will be the roller coaster. I don't care how much money or planning or insurance or anything else you have, because of the way you treat people, because they can never count on you. And I certainly argue that it's a form of abuse. Certainly it's a form of abuse to yourself why you do this, but it's also incredibly abusive to other people. People will embrace you and support you and care about you no matter how sort of eccentric your personality is, because we all are in our own ways, right? We're all, in many ways, very sophisticated and multi-layered. That's a healthy thing. People want to be part of getting to know all the wonderful facets of you, right? When you're up, when you're down, you're happy, when you're sad, all that good stuff. The thing is, though, they have to be able to trust that it's a stable platform. I can't trust it's a stable platform if, one time we're the best of close, trusting friends, and the next time, you hate me and call me bad names and say you never want to see me again. The redefining of the relationship is the part that's abusive. And if somebody chooses to do that, and it is a choice, because we're not talking about somebody who's suffering from some sort of illness or medical condition or some sort of medication that's attributable to the change. We're talking about somebody who's doing that of their own volition. Then you're going to have a life of instability, and your life will be just sort of whiplash-inducing back and forth, because that's what you're doing to other people. They can't trust that they can get on your ride and know what's going to happen, because you're not reliable. And why you're not reliable is something that many programs encourage people to, and I mean this, attack your own internal issues with every resource you have. So, spiritual, religious, counseling, mental health, community, friends, meditation, I don't care. I mean, physical exercise, diet, I mean literally every tool that you need to pull out of a tool chest to fight, to figure out why you're self-sabotaging, you need to deploy. This is the time. If you are living as a roller coaster, if you've built yourself as a roller coaster where you are completely unpredictable and people can't get any traction, they don't know what they mean to you, they don't know what you mean to them, they don't understand what's going to happen next, then yeah, you're going to have a life of unending disruption and pain, because they can't rely on you, you're not going to rely on them. That's what's going to happen at some point. Now, while you're doing that, though, that's the internal work that you, again, I just gave you many different areas that you got to go dig through that tool chest, and you have to face all your, embarrassment and shame, and you got to fight to change your behaviors so that you can get a better quality life. You must have balance. So there may be a percentage of your life where your work, you're out, and you're in nature, and you're have lots of adrenaline, and it's exciting, but people can count on you as a friend, as a neighbor, as a parent, as a child, as an uncle, as an aunt, as a brother, as a sister, as some what are you? Are you someone that some people can invest in? Not if you're a roller coaster. Not if you live and treat people as a roller coaster. Now, if you define the relationship and if they know that your word is your bond and that you're a trustworthy person, then of course they can handle whatever your emotions or your moods or your sort of personality changes are. But you're not hurting them and redefining a relationship, right? There's safety there. That's why I said at the beginning of the program, I said, yeah, I'll get on my roller coaster, I'm getting ready to close my eyes, but I always make sure I got my harness and, whatever safety bar, because I'm not, out there trying to hurt myself. I'm out there trying to have fun. And like I said, I always have. I go, these great investments that amusement parks put into the, building these entertainment experiences of the utmost safety and also fun. There's the pragmatism to all of it. I got to trust that it's safe. People have to be able to trust you. So when you're looking at this show and you're going over your notes and you're thinking about it, if you are saying, oh, everything in my life is up and down, people are so unreliable, blah, 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 this, I can't trust anyone, how can they trust you? Because invariably when I hear someone tell me how horrible other people are and how unreliable other people are, when I sit down and work through the totality of the situation, it's them that are the core source of the instability. And that's often what happens. I have not seen this innocent sort of, I hate the word, but the victim who's just the most stable, reliable person, and yet everything in their life is in disarray, and they're just a victim of all of these horrible people and natural disasters, and it's all just, too much. I've not seen that. Because if you're somebody that's reliable and you find other people that are reliable, then it's not rocket science. Like, yeah, you can rely on them, they can rely on you, right? We talked about our community of caring in many programs. Your community of caring are people in your life that the test is that your happiness is their happiness. And it works the other way. You're in their community caring because their happiness is your happiness. So if that's the test, then you're not yelling and threatening them. You're not redefining a relationship all the time. Their happiness is your happiness. So you have to face many of these things we talked about in the show are horribly painful and embarrassing. But if you want your life to have some sense of stability and get to a point where you can count on other people, you have to be someone other people can count on. And you're simultaneously yourself, the entity, yourself, your behavior, you are either a carousel or a roller coaster. And you also are building external infrastructure in your life, right? Whether it's the physical stuff like insurance and place to stay, and the emotional stuff. How do you treat people? And remember, on your carousel, it's predictable, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have excitement and awesome. Your carousel, sometimes you look around, I know I've been on carousels and thought, I know we passed this before, but I never saw that over there. Look how pretty that is on that over there on the right side. You see? That's life. It's awesome. Exciting and wonderful things happen on the carousel, but other people have to be able to trust that it's safe. They're not going to get on a ride with no safety bar and no idea what's going to happen, and it's because why? It's too high risk. So I hope that some of the analogies, some of the things that we shared are worthwhile. I do hope that the next time you go to the amusement park, you get your plan. Your plan may be not to have a plan. You may be the kind of person that says, look, I don't want a plan. I get in there and I go where the spirit or the feeling or the wind blows me. Well, cool, that's a plan. But you have to be someone that other people can invest in. And that's only going to happen if there's some sense of trust. So own up to your behaviors and your decisions. And you want to be a carousel, it's actually quite easy. Just be the carousel. It doesn't cost you any money to change your behavior. It doesn't take you some time for other people to really trust you, especially if you used to be a roller coaster, but you can do it. So get out there in the amusement park of life. You want to remember that you're going to have variability, right? Even though if you're a carousel, it doesn't mean from time to time you're not going to go ride a roller coaster. That may be a super exciting work environment. It might be taking the risk in a new, hobby or something. You're going to spice it up, but there has to be a core element of trust and safety. And you need to look at your behavior, at your words and your actions and your facial expressions and everything from the silent treatment to all of abusive things people do. You got to face all of it. And then be the carousel, and then get out there in your life and sprinkle in, the excitement and the adrenaline. And if you're like me and you got to sort of temper things a little bit or make it where things fit your life like I do. I get on the roller coaster with my eyes closed. That works for me. I don't care if other people laugh at me. I've told the world. And if anyone that's been in the park with me or seen me at the park knows that's how I do it. I'm not at all embarrassed. It works for me. That's my comfort level. You have to get out there and make your own comfort level so that you get the adrenaline and the excitement, but you have a stability and a carousel focus in your life, or people who you want in your community of caring, and you're in their community of caring, they can trust you. It's safe. It may be exciting, it may be dynamic, you may have a unique personality, but there's a trust there. That's the core foundation of being a carousel. And none of this is going to take you, anything but determination and effort, and then the ability to face up to your own counterproductive and sometimes, self-destructive behavior, which is embarrassing. But it's more embarrassing to stay a roller coaster and complain about you can't believe your life's out of control. Yeah, your life's out of control. You don't have any plan and you're not doing anything to change it. You created this. Change. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I greatly appreciate it, and have a great rest of today.